I'm Robin Stoloff. Welcome to Forum 40. For most of us, one of our biggest decisions and largest purchases we'll ever make is a place to call home. Whether or not that dream becomes a reality is influenced by a number of factors and conditions. The economy, job market, home prices, and mortgage rates are just a few. We also have an added element this year, Superstorm Sandy, and how it has and will affect the real estate market. If you're thinking of buying or selling a home, you won't want to miss this program. Today we'll meet three experts in the field to help us sort out all of this: a real estate broker, mortgage specialist, and new home builder. Our first guest is Carlo Lasco. He's the owner of Balsley Lasco Real Estate in Northfield. Thanks so much for joining us, Carlo.
Nice to be here.
First, give us a little bit about your background.
Background is we started in the business in 1977, and I've been there till the present day. And you know, we've been working hard at the business and trying to develop it over the years, and we've got it to a size it's a pretty nice regional business at this point.
What is the current climate of the real estate market, and how's it changed over the years?
Well, right now things are actually very good as compared to the last 5 years. As you know, we went through the housing crisis starting about 07, 08. We've rebounded and stabilized from that very well. And there's a lot of movement in the real estate. People are back buying homes again.
That's great to hear. And how has Sandy affected the market? I mean, we're just really in our first summer since that happened. How's it affected it?
I think it's impacted the barrier islands more than it has the mainland area, which obviously we specialize in. I think it's just a period of adjustment. People waiting for their flood insurance checks, people knowing the new rules for the new flood zone maps. So there was some probably hesitation in the beginning that I think the barrier islands went through, but they seem to have their problems ironed out pretty well, and people as well are moving forward with purchases on the island.
Actually, a good segue into my next question. Let's talk about flood insurance and the new rules and regulations for those who may not know them, and it can be confusing.
Well, there was new master maps proposed almost immediately after the storm, and there was a lot of speculation on what zones would be intensified as far as the building code regulations. And what flood insurance would be required. That map again is being revised. It's pretty close to final, I'm sure, but it's the impact is mostly the cost of flood insurance, and more so to people who had their homes damaged, to bring them up to the new standards, the cost and benefit of doing that. So there's a lot of sellers on the sidelines still figuring out that they want to improve their house, make the corrections, or just sell the house and leave that to the next owner.
And the state may provide some assistance. We just recently heard for raising the homes, getting the standard.
Yes, they will provide some participation for those costs to get the homes raised. But there's still a lot of other things that need to get done. Every time you raise a home, there's raising foundation, all the mechanicals, there's a lot of expenses. So a lot of these owners are faced with having to make an additional investment over and above what the grant is providing them.
Are you seeing that some of them are just saying, that's it, I'm just going to sell and get out of it?
Well, yes, we definitely are. There's definitely all life situations in every home, and they have to be individually assessed. And obviously, from our standpoint, people are looking to say, when I'm finished, what is this going to be worth?
Sure.
And there's a lot of questioning going on as far as that's concerned, and looking to us for that kind of guidance.
Or do you think more people are moving off the barrier islands after Sandy, from what you've seen?
Absolutely. There's definitely people. There is a small segment that is actually helping our housing demand over here on the mainlands. Certain people are getting their money and moving on and not wanting to go through that again, and we're definitely getting a little nice little hit here on the mainland of people interested in coming over.
Yeah, after going through something like that, it makes you stop and think. You want to rebuild there, and could it happen again? And something to think about. So let's talk about the market to buy a home. Where are we now? How are things?
Things are very good. Again, speaking to the housing crisis that hit in 08, there was values took a pretty good hit. I'd say across the board in our county, not including barrier islands, it was a solid 35% average. In some cases, in the higher price ranges, up to 50%, and some areas maybe 25%. But on average, a solid 35% decrease in values we experienced. that is pretty much stabilized. In the moderate price ranges, it's definitely stabilized. If not, we're experiencing increases of value right now, and there seems to be a lot more demand than there actually is saleable homes available in certain price ranges.
That's interesting. Why is that?
Well, as the values once had gone down and people started owing more because of the decrease in their home values, owing more than what the property was worth, that brought in a lot of situations which we call short sales, where people were out of equity. They owed more than their home was worth. To buy one of those homes takes a lot of effort to get done to get to the settlement table.
For those who may not know, what is a short sale and how does it work?
A short sale is pretty simple. I mean, it's basically to be short, you obviously have to put your home on the market for sale. You can live in it and not have equity, and that's about all that adds up to. But if you put your home on the market and you owe more than your home is worth, you may opt to do what they call a short sale, and that is where you need bank approval to sell your home short of what it's owed, and hopefully have the balance of debt and expenses forgiven.
Okay. And what advice would you give to buyers right now?
Well, right now it's even though we have stabilization, there are some looming issues that need to be considered. Hopefully, at the end of the year, any tax law changes don't include the cease and desist of the home mortgage deduction. Okay, that's something that all homeowners really count on. That would affect us. So I don't know if that would be grandfathered in, but I would doubt it. Also, the rising interest rate climate. There's no question we are in a climate of rising interest rates. So coupled with the sales prices and the market coming back, plus the increase in interest rates, that could lead to higher home expense down the line.
Okay, so really, do your homework. Look at every expense when it comes to buying a home, not just the price of the home, but what it costs to maintain it, of course.
Absolutely.
And what would you say would be the best? What do you need to look for when picking a realtor? A lot of people have never worked with a real estate agent in their lives. When they maybe are buying their first home, what do they do? Who do they go to? How do you find out who's good, who can help you?
Well, I think you don't just go on the internet and pick somebody. Real estate's very personal business. People let us into their lives. People let us into their homes. They spend more time. It's no different than picking a doctor or a lawyer. Not that I'm comparing our profession with those, but you need to go meet the people. You need to talk to the people. You need to find someone who's totally accessible to you, because you need someone that works when you're not, and that requires a lot of communication. Someone that's available to you always when you need it, because your home buying experience is important to you at that minute. This is not a 9-to-5 job, so you need to seek out somebody who is going to do that and be available to you, and then certainly the experience requirements necessary.
Certainly, and you make a good point. You need to feel comfortable with that person personally.
Absolutely.
That's always good to know. All right, thank you, Carl, for sharing some wonderful insights in the real estate market. Really appreciate your expertise. And coming up, we have a mortgage consultant joining us to talk about the current mortgage rates and what to expect when applying for a loan. Stay with us. Welcome back to Forum 40, talking about the real estate climate in buying and selling homes. And one of the biggest elements of purchasing a home is getting approved for a mortgage. Knowing more about mortgage rates and the mortgage process can help to make this a much more enjoyable experience. Robert Madonna of Trident Mortgage and Margate joins us now. Just give us a little bit about your background.
Well, I've been with Trident Mortgage for about 5 years now. I've been in the business for 11 years.
Okay, great. And what have you seen in your years there as far as changes in the mortgage industry?
Well, it's been a little bit tighter as far as purchasing power and things like that because of the whole meltdown in 2008, 2009. Of course, a lot of things it's a little bit harder or more challenging to get pre-approved, but Stated income is a thing of the past, along those lines. So basically, as long as you can prove your income, you can still buy a home.
Well, that's good to know. And it's kind of in some ways good that it's a little bit more challenging, because when people were getting approved and they really weren't qualified, that's where we got into trouble, isn't it?
Absolutely, and that's what caused this huge meltdown.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of where we are.
So it's good that you're doing a little more checks, although the process has become more streamlined, hasn't it?
It has, yes.
In what ways?
Well, as far as documentation concerned, it's pretty much no matter where you go, it's going to be the same. So it's typically the last 2 years of your tax returns, last 2 years of your W-2s, 30 days of pay stubs, and 30 days of bank statements, just to show that you have the assets.
And I know it's different for everybody, but how long does it typically take from the time somebody applies to the time they're approved?
Well, approval is usually within about 2 weeks, but typically a pre-approval can take as little as about 5 to 10 minutes over the phone or in person.
Do you think it's important to get pre-approval before looking for a home?
I do, absolutely, because you need to know what your buying power is. And until you actually sit down with a mortgage consultant and find out, it's unfair to both yourself and the realtor, because you're not even sure what you could afford. You could possibly even afford more than what you think.
Is it also a way to help you to get the home over someone else, maybe to make that bid and get approved more quickly over someone else who might not have a letter of approval?
Absolutely, yes. Most of the realtors today are requesting that you have a pre-approval before they will show you homes, just to make sure that, again, your buying power is what you think it is. So yes, I would definitely say that once you have the pre-approval letter, that definitely gives you the ability to possibly beat out someone else that does not.
Sure. So why not give yourself the best chance possible?
Absolutely.
Of course. Now, you're in Moorgate, so you were certainly affected by Superstorm Sandy. How did that affect the mortgage business in your area?
Well, it was definitely slower at the end of last year, the beginning of this year, but it certainly picked up. And we actually just did a comparable for the numbers last year at this time, and it's slightly down. It's not down by, 10% or anything like that. I want to say it's right around 7%. So it did impact it, but we're definitely coming back strong.
Yeah, you do feel that there's a sense of people saying, okay, we're moving on from this, and we're trying to now
absolutely.
purchase new homes?
Yes, people are definitely buying.
Yeah, and what about the sales market, selling as well? Do you see that happening as much?
Yes, there's a lot more sales transactions going on, a lot more buy sides. People are selling their homes. As Carlo had discussed, some are just selling as is, but they are definitely selling, and it's definitely the time to buy.
Yeah, or people, I asked you that same question. Do you see people leaving because of Superstorm Sandy and saying, I'm not going to raise my home, I'm not going to worry about it, I'm just going to sell it and be done? Yeah,
it really depends on the individual. Some people are just a little afraid, they don't want to go through the process of having to possibly raise. But basically, if you do not raise your home, you're going to pay a little bit more for your flood insurance. Mm-hmm. So it's really just preference. Some people refuse to, cross the bridge ever. So they prefer to just stay on the island no matter what.
Right.
So.
It's like going to another world for those folks sometimes on the Barrier Island. And let me ask you this question. Mortgage rates have recently risen just slightly, but it's still really a good time to buy, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. They're still at historical lows. And of course, price points are still low. So you definitely want to buy now so you can catch the uptick on purchase prices and values.
Where do you see them heading in the next, say, 2-3 years, the mortgage rates?
They are going to go up, I would say. So you definitely want to lock in now if you can, because it will affect your buying power in the future.
Usually when you lock in, how many, 90 days?
It's typically 60.
60 days that you get to hold that rate,
That's
which
correct.
is terrific. And talk about as far as the different types of mortgages that you can get. What are people's choices, and what would you recommend? I guess everyone's situation is different, but if they could, do you recommend doing a shorter mortgage if possible?
Well, you will save on interest over the term if you do a shorter mortgage. However, of course the payment's more at that point, but there are definitely different products. There's conventional, there's VA, there's an FHA mortgage, and currently there's still USDA mortgage where you can do 100% financing, so you can still buy with zero down.
Is that for first-time home buyers?
It is, yep.
And another option is maybe getting a longer mortgage, but paying more if you can, which brings down your mortgage rate as well,
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
Just, I think it's an extra payment or two a year. You can bring it down if it's a 30-year to what, about 20?
23 year.
23 years.
One extra payment a year to principal.
So you break that up over 12 months. It doesn't kill you, but you drop a lot of time off your mortgage. So that's always a good thing for people to do. Do you recommend that?
I do, absolutely.
And then how's the buying climate, in your opinion, over the last 11 years in the business? Have you seen it go up and down, and where are we now?
Yeah, it always goes up and down. It always comes in waves, but I would say we're definitely going up. You know, rates are low, so people are locking in. It's giving them more buying power now than they've ever had. So again, with that combined with the prices being where they're at, it's definitely an optimal time to buy.
Being in a shore community, we're in a little bit of a different situation from many people. What are you seeing with second home purchases?
They're still going on. People love the shore, so everyone's that beach house, and now it's just more affordable, which is great.
Not making any more beaches, so that's one
No.
thing we definitely have here. And if you had to advise somebody on preparing to get a mortgage, what would you tell them?
Well, I would definitely advise for them to seek out a mortgage consultant right away, just again to find out how much they can afford. I would definitely just give them the idea of getting their tax returns together and everything else, because sometimes there are write-offs and things like that, so we want to make sure that we review everything and make sure that the income is in fact what it was stated to be, so that there's no circumstance later down the line. So
how important is your credit?
It's extremely important. It would save you on your interest rate. Typically there are hits to the interest rate depending on what type of mortgage you're doing, so the better the credit score.
So outstanding credit card balances, any loans you could possibly pay off would all help you.
Absolutely.
With your credit score.
Yep.
And what should somebody look for when they're looking for a mortgage consultant?
Well, again, what Carlo had discussed, you want to make sure that it's someone that you trust, and either through word of mouth or referral from a realtor, just basically someone that you could trust with your income and your information and put you into the best situation possible.
All right, thank you so much for sharing really important information about the current mortgage market. We really appreciate that.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And hopefully we've helped you if you are deciding to buy or sell a home right now. And coming up next, we have Brad Haber. He is a professional builder, and he'll bring us information on building a home and what specifics to consider when you're looking for that new home. Stay with us. As past president of New Jersey Builders Association, Brad Haber is a seasoned professional when it comes to creating a place to call home. He joins us today to talk about the process of building new homes and what to consider when making choices on where to build. Thanks so much for joining us, Brad.
Hi, Robin. Great to see you again.
Thank you. You too. Let's hear a little bit about your background.
Well, I've been building homes for New Jersey families since 1983, pretty much in the southern part of the state where I'm from, Camden, Burlington, Gloucester, and now here in Atlantic County.
And where is your latest project?
I'm building a community called the Neighborhoods of Cedar Creek in Egg Harbor City North, which is that part of Egg Harbor City out towards the lake. And we surround the brand new Cedar Creek High School, which is really the major draw to that area.
How many homes do you have planned to build?
We'll be building 400 homes there over the next 6 to 8 years.
That's fantastic. You've been in this business, you said, over 30 years. And what have you seen in that time as far as what people are looking for in a new home and the building market?
Well, that's a great look back in time, because when I first started homes, a one-car garage was a luxury, and what I saw were homes getting bigger and more sophisticated, and until we came to the McMansion level. I think the McMansion's dead. I think today what we're looking for are modest homes that are comfortable and energy efficient.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. I know that you stress that a lot. How important is that for someone to look for in a new home, the energy efficiency?
Well, our industry really thinks that as we come out of this doldrums of the housing market, as we begin to resurge, we'll find that it becomes much more important. Certainly, the government is far more focused on energy savings to be actually built into the homes.
What do you see as far as designs of homes? I know a formal living room used to be something that people really wanted, and now lifestyles are different, and you're not seeing that as much. Is that right?
Spaces, we tend to go far more open. I like to say that I don't do walls and halls. I don't do doorways where we don't need to be. The rooms flow into each other, and that's what people are looking for versus the old plans where rooms were just designated for a living room, a dining room. Now we want all the rooms to serve whatever we're doing.
Sure, and the kitchen flows into the family room. That's where people entertain.
Absolutely.
It's a lot easier type of space. And what's your feeling, from what your experiences are in the last couple of years, where the housing market is going as far as new homes?
Well, I think clearly we're bouncing off the bottom. We have a
Could
terrific
only go
upside.
up.
Well, the question became, when will it go
Yes,
up?
right.
And we've had a protracted bump along the bottom, as there still is a lot of uncertainty in people's daily lives, from the political to their business to to the storms that you've been talking
Yes,
about.
right.
There's a lot of uncertainty, and that seems to have put a little bit of a regulator on the market. But clearly, people are back in the marketplace. We're seeing traffic. We're making deals. So we're all optimistic that we've seen the worst.
Well, that's great to hear. And what would you say would be the advantages of pros and cons, really, of buying a new home versus an existing home?
Yeah.
Of course, you're going to say, I know, new homes.
Well, of course. But, even better than that, the National Association of Home Builders does a survey annually of all home buyers, statistically of all home buyers, and the conclusions are generally the same. 85% typically of people who buy homes express a preference for a new home. The reality is only 12 to 14% of those home buyers actually buy the new home. So as a new home builder, we need to identify, well, where's that disconnect? Certainly the homes are fresh and new. They're clean. People haven't used the restrooms and the bathrooms before. The closets and carpets are yours. All that's great. You can pick your colors and selections, but there's so many more important things in a new home, from construction techniques, which have evolved certainly over the last 10 years, let alone 30 years. Our homes are safer, they're stronger, they're more energy efficient, they're more comfortable, they're more durable. Those are the reasons why someone considering a home wants to buy the new home.
And you got it. I can't let you go without talking about the basements that you do. I think that's a great idea. Everyone wants a dry basement, especially in this market.
Yeah. Yes, right. And we use the Superior Wall Basement System, which is a concrete system where they're brought to the site in panels. The panels are waterproof. We have a video on our YouTube channel where we show the installation, and people actually come out to see them being installed.
It's pretty amazing. I have to say, one day you have a full basement in it.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, it's terrific.
And they stay dry, and that's
They're very dry,
important.
they're warm, they're insulated, of course, and people really appreciate that in our homes. We don't find that really in...
No, because that's a living space. I mean, we use our basements as a living space, and it's important.
We've rediscovered the basement. I mean, that's one of the leading draws of our community, is that we don't call it a basement, we call it the lower level.
Lower level, I love that.
Right.
That's great, that's wonderful. And tell me a little bit about tax abatement there in Egg Harbor City.
Well, Lake Harbor City is one of the places designated by the state of New Jersey where public policy suggests people should seek a new home. One of the incentives the state makes available to places like Egg Harbor City is a tax abatement program where our customers get in to their first year of occupancy with very little or even no real estate taxes. The tax would then graduate over a 5-year period so that the people can sort of grow into that rate, number one. And number two, it gives them some clear incentives over other communities. It draws people to a place like Egg Harbor City.
And speaking of Egg Harbor City, you are basically a stone's throw away from the high school. How important is it to be near a high school or near good education facilities?
Well, not only are we a stone's throw or a 7-iron for me, we surround the high school with our property. It's actually like a rectangular donut with the high school, one of the newest, if not the newest high school in New Jersey,
Cedar
the
Creek,
center of our donut, the whole of our donut. That's a terrific draw to families. Just the idea of walking to high school, using the facilities, seeing your kids grow up, the safety factor. It's all very, very important and a very strong draw. When I was a young builder growing up, the old guys told me to build wherever you want, Bradley, as long as it's next to a high school.
Really?
I never had the opportunity to do that until the neighborhood, so I'm very hopeful for that.
And you're finding that's a draw for people?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
that is great. You know, it's fun, it's exciting to be
of all
around
ages,
high school.
which is interesting.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Even people without kids in school?
Young families whose kids will grow up into the system are excited, but we also have a number of customers that you might have called the active adults or empty nesters. But they like the excitement in the facilities of being in a school, being near a school. compared to next to a shopping center, I think they vote for the school.
Right, right. Keeps you young around being around the young people and the bands and the football games.
Is that
and all
your
that, all
secret?
that fun stuff. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. But tell us a little bit about the ownership and the cost of owning a new home compared to an existing home, and why is it different?
Right. Certainly the initial cost would be higher, and that's one of the number one objections in that survey that I referred to you earlier. The cost is higher for a new home, anywhere from 15 to 25%, depending on the disparity. But that upfront cost is quickly equalized by the fact that there are no maintenance issues looming on the horizon. All the equipment, again, being state-of-the-art, high-efficiency equipment, is saving you operating costs. You mentioned earlier to one of your guests, the cost of owning a home is a lot more than just the mortgage and the taxes. It's the true operation, and as we build Energy Star homes, our homes are guaranteed to be 30% more cost-effective than other new homes, let alone an existing home.
And that's a very, very good point. And we're going to have to stop it at that. And I thank you so much for joining us, Brad Haber. Some really great information about buying a new home,
Thank you so much,
especially at Cedar Creek Communities. Thank you so much. And if you're looking into buying or selling a home, I hope that this information we've shared with you today has helped you consider different factors that are involved and that we've made this process a little bit easier. We thank all of our guests for joining us and giving us their opinions on what to consider, and we thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. I'm Robin Stoloff.